18 months ago, I started making electrolytes in my kitchen because nothing on the market was good enough. Today, I'm going to be launching my brand SOLELI on Kickstarter. Here's the story of how we got here. So, for the past couple of years, I have been trying to balance working full-time with training for various races, whilst also more recently trying to build a marriage and also keep a healthy social life. And along the way, like everybody else does, you want to make sure that you are productive in your role, present within your social life, but also make sure that you can train hard and then also have enough left in the tank for everything else. And along the way, I realized that the more I demanded from my body, the more seriously I had to take my hydration. And that's when I kept running into the same problem. I found myself in a vicious cycle of two different extremes. I would pay quite a lot of money for a product that kind of did the job, was expensive and tasted okay, but wasn't really that good. Or I would pay very little money for a product that was just sugar water, tasted good because it was sugary, but would not do the job at all. And I felt like there was nothing that was in the middle of the two on this spectrum. It was just seemed like you had to go from one extreme to the other, and there was just nothing in the middle, which brought me to essentially mixing my own electrolytes in my kitchen. And like any sane person, I spent countless hours researching formulations, what mixes well with this, what flavors, can be used. And what I realized was there was a lot of people out there like me. I like to use the term, the 9-to-5er with fitness goals that were just not getting much from what was on the market. They didn't want to spend too much because it just didn't make sense. And you didn't really want to be paying for what essentially was sugar water. It just doesn't make sense either. And that was the moment I realized that this might be bigger than solving my own problems, and that the electrolytes I was making in my kitchen may be able to make a difference to other people's lives the same way they had made a difference to my life. What I didn't realize at the time was how difficult it would be trying to build a product and a brand from scratch. At first, I thought it'd be simple: find some ingredients, find a supplier, find a manufacturer, go into Canva and art and build a couple of, brands and take a few pictures, and that would be it, launch the brand online somewhere. I didn't realize that there was so much more that went into actually building a brand and product. I had to learn so much about how this specific type of product is marketed to the public, how other brands are doing it, which route was the safest to go down, DTC or to go down the retail route. Then I had to learn a lot about, operational side of things. I had to learn about what manufacturing route to take. I had to then learn a lot about the legal side of things, the products, the ingredients I'm putting inside the sachets. Are there any certifications I need to know of? Is there anything specific I need to get and acquire to be able to sell this? The smallest of things, building a website, colors of the brand. There's just a bunch of different things that you have to absorb in such a small amount of time. I'm someone who's still at this time right now working full time, so that was another challenge, is finding time for when I would actually be able to work on this. And then came the setbacks. Once I had everything sort of written up, I had created a business plan, a model of how I wanted to execute building SOLELI, actually getting into the numbers and doing the hard work. There were nights where I would spend hours and hours, bulk sending emails to different suppliers, just trying to find out, whether they would be able to work with me, on minimum order quantities, being able to do test batch runs. There were countless mistakes, ordering the wrong products, ordering the wrong ingredients, embarrassing moments, speaking to suppliers and being told that this is not something we do, or just, all round just feeling completely lost at every step of the way. And every step I seemed to take seemed to open up another door. I just felt like I kept going deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole. And somewhere along the lines, I realized that I was just obsessed and I just wanted to build the perfect product. But with every challenge overcome and every week that went by, it felt like I started to build SOLELI, and it felt like it started to become more and more real. But even after all of that, we still didn't have a product ready to launch. After months of testing, problem solving, trying out various formulations, things did actually start to come together. The formulations were improving, samples were arriving. I had got feedback from a number of friends and family who had tested the product itself and, that liked the way it tasted. I remember receiving the first samples and actually falling in love with how they looked. I was quite skeptical because I didn't know what they would turn out to be like, considering they're coming from thousands of miles away. It sounds small, but to me at the time, that was the moment I was like, this actually could work. It was months of hard work, months of sitting in my bedroom, working on spreadsheets, looking at Canva, doing a lot of reading, and there it was, just actually sat in front of me. This little piece of packaging with no product in it just as yet, by the way, just packaging, and I was very happy. And I'd say that was probably around about the time that gave me the confidence to be able to stop, over planning things and to start taking physical action with launching. And I think the biggest reason for that was it wasn't just the fact that my friends and family are the ones who wanted it. I got, feedback that other people actually saw benefit from this and other people saw value in the product I created. And that there's the moment for me that was surreal.
This delicious watermelon salt electrolyte mix is rejuvenating my day. Solely, the essence of life.
For the first time, SOLELI did actually feel real. It felt like SOLELI was a thing and it was tangible. So, 18 months after that first idea popped into my head, SOLELI is now live on Kickstarter. And we are God knows how many days into it now, but I put a lot of time and soul into this, and here is to, hopefully, one of the first successes of SOLELI. Whether or not this becomes a huge success or another lesson for me, I really don't know. But what I do know is that we are finally at the starting line, and this is only just the beginning.